Thank you so much for making your time this morning. I know it's you have many important things to do, and so you're going to be talking to, listening mostly, because I'm a big talker. A tall, skinny-ass guy that swears by plant-based medicine. My name is Erik, as most of you know. I'm the managing director of Alegria Fresh. I started this company actually back in 2001, which was Alegria Communications. That company was designed to actually start pushing out messaging like this. And after about 10 years, I started calling myself on my own shit. And you got that on tape? Cuss lightly once in a while, but watch it. And that is that there's too much talk and too little action. Okay, so I'm talking and making people aware of stuff is amazing, but actually getting in and growing the food that everybody in the country now, the Dr. Hymans, the Mercolas, you name it, the Axes, they're all saying, we got to have this food. Are any of them growing food? No. Okay, so I'm sick and tired of that garbaggio. We got to do more action, and we got to talk a lot less. But of course, it's important to actually understand why this is so important from a biochemical standpoint. And this is the shout out for Bank of America. They not only helped fund the first farm here 2.5 years ago before the pandemic. We were able to put in $150,000 worth of equipment because Bank of America stepped up. And that was part of their $100 million donation to food in this country. They gave away $100 million to grow food. So like or hate Bank of America, they've got a good side, really good side. And this morning, these 4 volunteers came in and actually learned how to run SOX boxes. And I think they made a commitment today that the 3 women are coming back. They're gonna be, volunteers. And by the way, I'm a volunteer out here. I've been volunteering forever. I do get paid by the food bank to grow this lettuce, but just enough to pay for my people. So I donate my time too, because this is probably one of the best things I've ever done. I mean, I do make money. I'm very good at making money. I make money other ways, but be able to feed marginalized people food coming off a food bank like this, to be able to use their distribution, their trucks, to get on the phone at 7 in the morning and say we have 600 heads of lettuce ready to go, and a truck shows up in 10 minutes, loads it, and runs it out to the pantries around here to feed over 500,000 people a month. It feels damn good. So it's my give back. So I want, the other shout out goes to the Second Harvest Food Bank, because they were visionary enough. An old CEO, which has now been picked up by the new CEO. I was relentless. I kept pushing them. He saw it, and they agreed to give us this property to start building these farms on. So this is called an Alegria SOX box farm. And if you go to soxbox.com, soxxboxx.com, you'll see how unique this system is. So we're 100% regenerative organic. Does anybody know what the 3 main tenets of regenerative organic are? Okay, it's basically soil first. If you don't think about soil first, you're not anywhere close to regenerative. You can be organic and think about soil fifth. Regenerative means you're thinking about soil first, so soil health. Number 2, it's animal rights, and I put that in front of farmers' rights. I'm much more happy about killing people than I am about animals.
Got it.
Those are the things that get me in trouble.
It's all context.
I spend my entire day trying to heal people, so there's an offset.
Right. Yeah.
One of the things I can't stand is lazy people, and I'm relentless on lazy people. So if anybody's lazy around me, you'll see when you get bit. So I'm not lazy. I'm 65 years old. I started, like I said, in 2001, looking at these types of systems. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've never worked for anybody else other than my clients, of course, so you always work for people. But I've always had my own companies, and I've built 4 big companies prior to this, and when I was 52, it was 12 years ago, somebody asked, how did I get into this? We have a very healthy family. My mother taught me that food was medicine. She's Danish. I'm Danish, of course. So I'm a wannabe Viking. I'm not a vegan. I will eat any greatly sourced meat. Of course, I just bought an 80-acre parcel up in Montana. I have the best meat in the world. So you guys are all invited to come to Montana next spring. We're building a regenerative health center there.
Wow.
I mean, I eat the best elk, the best bison, the best venison, the best chicken, you name it. I do love meat because meat's important. We're omnivores. So I'm not a vegan. I'm not going to say you have to eat 100% plants. If you do eat 100% plants, there's nothing wrong with that either. So I eat 90% plants. But going back to the reason I got into this is that my family was very healthy until about 8 years ago, when my brother's youngest boy and nephew, all of a sudden his kidneys failed on him. And so I have a background in oncology, biochemistry, and I've studied plants for 40 years. I'm a farmer, and I'm also a chef. So obviously you can see I have no excuse not to do this. And I guess the greatest thing for me is I wake up every morning knowing exactly what I'm supposed to do. And if I forget, then a little deity from the Mayan called Pachamama sitting on my shoulder yells at me. Sometimes she whispers, sometimes she screams. And if I don't pay attention, then she hits me in my dreams. So I have no choice but to do this. And now I've realized why, because I am a weirdo. I'm a seriously weird nerd. I have the skills to teach this. I understand plants. I understand how to prepare plants. I understand how to heal disease with plants. And so I'm going to say a quick note on that. When you grow plants in the best living soil, which is what we build here, that is the main thing that I've been working on. And our partner is Kellogg Garden Products, okay? Kellogg has been absolutely critical in me being able to do what I'm doing. They're the only 100% organic soil company in the country that I can verify, and they have the organic inspectors on them all the time. And my close friend Kathy Kellogg Johnson is one of the two owners of the company. She's been around 75 years. And almost 10 years ago, I went over there and pitched him. I said, can you help me get some soil, because I can't find any organic soil around here. If I find soil, it's sitting on a Navy base here that's been there's heavy metals and pollution everywhere. And she said, yeah, okay, why not? Next day, I show up to my farm, which was one of the 11 farms I've built in this area, by the way. This is number 11. That's how hard it's been. For 12 years, we've been building farms and getting kicked off, building farms and getting kicked off. And so I say that to you because I'm not bitching or crying about it, but I just want to know that I'm committed. Because I just kept coming back. I mean, everybody goes, oh my God, that guy. You can't get rid of him. And now I know why, and I'll tell you the reason why. The big things that have just happened over the last couple months are huge. So this thing has really got some legs now, and it's going. But I saw the opportunity to stop talking. I'm going to talk a lot today, but the rest of the time we're growing this food. I saw the opportunity that the planet is getting sicker and sicker by the day. So on that note, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. The vaccine did save some people. The only reason you guys need a vaccine, and I say you guys because it's a me and us, or me and them, is that you don't eat like I do. So I have a gut that is like full of diversity. I eat 50 different things every day, and I grow them all. And so they're super nutrient dense. They're loaded with microbes. I mean, I don't wash half the stuff that I eat. In fact, see my hands? Soil? That just gave me like 500 million positive microbes. That's the best probiotics you can actually take. Okay, and that is called humus, what's ever sitting on my hands. Plus, it makes my hands super soft and healthy, and I'm absorbing it. That's minerals and microbes. So, the regenerative side of this farm, we are able to grow food in a Sox box. Oh, I forgot to finish on my brother's son. Blew out his kidneys. Came home from a trip, saw him in the hospital, all set up with tubes, and they said either he gets a double kidney transplant or he's dead. And I said, what? And I was so pissed at my brother because I said, I told you, you can't be eating all these s'mores and all this ice cream and all this cake and all this shit you're feeding them. So you can imagine in my family, here comes this horrible disease. We're sitting on my 8-year-old nephew, beautiful little boy, and he's just like done. And so, of course, he went through a whole steroidal program, which I was highly against, but got to the point where it's like stage 4 cancer. You can't heal stage 4 with food fast enough. What you can do is you can prevent cancer in the first place. And by the way, 100 years ago, we weren't talking about cancer. We didn't even say the word organic. Everything was organic. By the way, we're organic. Anything made of carbon is organic. Organic chemistry is the study of carbon-based chemistry, which I have 6 years in that and 4 years of biochemistry, so I'm a little bit smarter than I look. The connections that started hitting me back then was just showed up my own family, and I know exactly how to prevent that. So they did put him on a steroid program. My nephew did survive, but of course his face changed, his teeth changed. Steroid. You can imagine what that does to a young kid. doesn't look like anything like what it used to look like. And I have to say to you, I went to bed so pissed off so many nights. I said, I can't let this happen. So I know how to stop this. I know how to teach this, but nobody's listening, because we all think we have Whole Foods, Sprouts, we can just go get all the food we want, right? We're safe. BS. You're not safe from the food in our normal distribution system because it's old. Okay? I said to the volunteers this morning, I said, when you're born, you're perfect. Then you take your first breath of oxygen and you start dying. It's true. You have to have oxygen to survive, but you also now are starting to oxidize. Okay, so that's what takes the paint off your car, that's what makes your skin wrinkly, that's what finally kills you, is you're oxidizing for as many years as you can. So that proves why we need antioxidants, right? Everybody says, oh, we gotta have more antioxidants. Well, why? We're breathing oxygen all the time. Well, we're trying to prevent those free radicals that reside in our body from breathing oxygen and from poor food. You're trying to combat those so that they don't break your cells apart. And do what we call malignant transformation, which is where cancer comes from. So our food system is broken, no question about it. I don't care where you eat, unless you eat off a farm like this, you're not eating healthy, you're eating marginally. Okay? If there's a good start, buy organic for sure. Don't look at, oh my God, it's another $1, it's too expensive. What's the cost of healthcare and feeling like shit? Think about it. We all spend on average $16,000 a year on healthcare. What if we bought the best, finest organic food we can from local farmers? I mean, if you can find a local farmer that's actually got it in the soil, I can show you how to ask the farmer how he prepares the soil and how he's growing it. Because it's critical when somebody says they're organic, you got to know how they're making the soil, what they're doing to it. Because there's a lot of things you can cheat kind of with organics. The regenerative organic you can't cheat. Regenerative organic is basically zero pesticides, zero fungicides, and zero herbicides. No chemicals. Okay? Now, if you walk around my farm here, I dare you to find a bug. If you can find one, I want to see it. I don't spray anything here. That's weird. So what's going on? It's the same thing as your own human being. If you party with the boys, play poker, drink a bunch of wine, drink a bunch of beer, do that for a couple nights in a row. Oh God, I don't feel good about the fourth night. I get sick, right? Because you just totally upset the biochemistry of your gut. Same thing in soil. If you provide plants perfect living soil, they can defend themselves. They have what we call resiliency. And so two things are really plaguing us right now. And I'm making a movie called The Pharmacy of Light, which will be out in about a month. And the first thing I say is the greatest threat to our national security is food. Okay? 30 years ago, 1 out of 300 kids were born autistic. Last year, 1 out of 3. By 2050, 1 out of 2. So that means everybody that has a kid, if you're still able to have children, because you're going to be sterile otherwise, most men and women will be sterile by 2050 unless we change what we're doing. Men's sperm counts are way down, and everybody at our age knows women in their 30s having difficult time having healthy babies. Okay, so if anybody's seen The Handmaid's Tale, you seen that crazy movie, the dark movie from Netflix? Okay, well that's where the women went sterile. So they were catching women, and this country became a state where we were having women as concubines, and so only the men could have babies with the fertile women. It's actually going to be the opposite. The men are going sterile first. So you women will be in control, because you're not going to have men that are going to be worth a damn pretty soon if we don't fix this food system. So reproductive health is being dramatically affected by this. And it's just a slow drip. We don't see it quickly, but if you study it, I'm very close with Zach Bush and a couple other people, and he's in our new movie, by the way. If you've not seen Zach Bush, you ought to watch some of the stuff he says. That guy gets channeled from universal places sometimes. I don't even know. He's amazing, and he's a triple board certified endocrinologist. So he really gets what he's talking about. So my point is that reproductive health, our own health, just our feeling. We don't feel good anymore. We're stressed, right? Not me. I'm 65 years old, and I warned my girlfriend to stay away from me because she can have a kid. So, bottom line is, because I date younger women, that's the difference. I'm joking about that, but I'm not really joking. My point is that you can stay very, very healthy. I'm 65. I play competitive volleyball still. Nothing hurts, by the way. I have no pain unless I overwork. I mean, if I tear my arm apart because I'm lifting something too big, I might be sore, like for a day. So I am living proof that if you do eat the right healing foods and a diversity of them, and there's a lot of powerful foods on this farm that we can walk through and do some tasting that are chosen for their horsepower. And it works. I mean, here's another statistic. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I am not an anti-vaxxer. However, would I ever take a vaccine? God, no. I don't need it. I mean, my resilience is ridiculous. I've had 9 farmers on my farm the last 3 years, starting with the first part of the pandemic. And I made a rule. I said, anybody works with Alegria, I'm going to prove something here. If you can't handle this, you can't work with me. No mask, and we hug each other every morning. Everybody came through the gate, hug, 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 hug. 2 people quit. They go, oh, we're not doing that. I'm like, I might get sick. So I had 9 stick, and 3 of their spouses over the next year and a half got very, very sick from COVID. And so we knew, I mean, they came in and said, my wife was just diagnosed yesterday. And I said, yeah, I saw her. Her nose was running. I mean, I hugged her yesterday. And they said, yeah, so we're going to give it COVID to everybody. I go, no, you're not. Hug everybody, no mask. And of course, we had to wear masks in other situations, but on my farm, I didn't. Guess what? Guess how many of those farmers got COVID?
None.
0.
0.
Yeah.
So 2 things were working there. Number 1, I made them eat the food that we had, and they took food home every day. And second thing was the energetics of saying I'm not getting COVID. Okay, so what I'm going to teach you guys today is something you probably have never thought about it, even though it's so obvious when I tell you. You're going to go, oh my God, that makes so much sense. So we are creatures of light. Okay, we run on light. Every cell in your body has what they call, a little tiny bacterial that actually exchanges 100,000 photons per second, per cell. So you have a quadrillion cells, and you're exchanging over 100,000 photons times a quadrillion. So you are atomic beings, okay? You actually run on light, and that's exactly what James Cameron was trying to say in the movie Avatar. Remember the Avatar? Everybody saw Avatar. These very advanced beings, which were creatures of light, and they had a light tree. That was the universe. That represented the universe, was the light tree. So get religion aside and look out there and say, hey, God to me is actual light, and light is love, and God is love. Okay, that's the way I say it. I mean, I'm not Christian, I'm not Buddhist, I'm not Viking, I'm not pagan. I'm light. And so you can argue with me all you want on that, but it's going to be a tough one. Bring a bottle of wine. Point is, if we are light, if I'm telling you the truth, how do we replenish the light in our body? Isn't that an obvious question? Well, if you walk out, anybody standing in the sun right now, you put your hand up there, you feel the warmth coming off the sun, right? That's biophotons. Those are photonic electrical particles going right through your hand and into your body. And so we are made of light. Now, what is all those leaves out there? Those are photocells. Those are solar panels, all those leaves pointing at the sun, right? And when they're healthy and fresh like this, they're full of light. So that is the best reason to eat food right after you pick it. It's got its full light load. Okay, we call that in Ayurvedic medicine, it's prana. So it's got its full life force energy. Don't discount that crazy guru crap, like, oh, well, prana doesn't mean anything. It does. It's describing something that Eastern cultures have known for thousands of years, that light-filled food is carbon-rich food, and it comes out of healthy, biologically rich soil. Okay, and so you have to eat that food if you want to give your body a chance to be resilient. Now, what's missing in our society? Access to that food. You've got all these wonderful guys, Dr. Hyman, Dr. Oz, Dr. Everybody, blah, blah, blah. We need to eat this food. So I've called all of them. I said, how come you guys aren't farming food? You keep telling everybody where to get it.
Mm-hmm.
How come there's none of it? Bunch of bullshit. Stop talking, guys. Well, they make money talking. Lots of money make talking. Of course, you hear the same thing over and over. Half the stuff I'm telling you today, they've said, right? A lot of this is not new to you. The difference is this farm, okay? We can actually build farms now over cement, over asphalt, or any man-made surface that grows the finest food in the world. And what I was saying to you guys this morning from Bank of America, it's probably the greatest business opportunity ever on the planet for young people to get involved in growing this kind of healing food. Because if I'm right, everybody needs it, which means everybody was you always look at, when you start a business, it's like, okay, what's my market? In this case, my market is everybody with a mouth. Okay, that's a pretty good market. That's 7 billion people plus. Secondly, I can grow now over unused spaces. Okay, there's 40 square miles of asphalt in Orange County and LA County that's not being used right now. Try to find farmland that's healthy. You can't. It's all being developed. It's got buildings on it like this, and then it's been, we've been dumping aluminum on it from all the clouds, and we've been dumping toxic heavy metals from jet fuel, you name it. This is the only way to do it, you guys. And it's easy, it's simple, and it's the greatest opportunity on the planet. And I just proved that. I'm absolutely able to say this now that I just got a crazy disruptive guy to back me named Kanye West.
All right.
Kanye's all over this. He came down to the farm, was dragged down here, and crazy as that guy is, because he's crazy, so am I. And the shit he says is nuts sometimes, but I love it because he keeps himself relevant. He can still Twitter 10 million people and they'll listen. So he's just making an investment now in the Soxbox with me. He doesn't own my company, but he's actually backing me on it, and we're going to take this thing global. So that is 12 years of work, and it proves to young kids who don't have 10 minutes worth of commitment, if you hang in there, you can do something great. So I'm looking at women your age, and you showed up this morning. That's why I come to work, by the way, for people like you. Seriously. I mean, why would I come here if I didn't get total jollies out of teaching younger people? Because I'm not getting paid. So it's specifically up to younger women, because I think women will understand they've got the nurturing gene in them from the beginning, and I think women will heal the planet. All of us men still like to blow shit up, right? So come on, girls, we need you. So going back to light just for a brief second, our movie is called The Pharmacy of Light, and if you go to Pharmacy of Light, FARMACY of Light, LIGHT.com, there's a trailer up there. It's a 4-minute trailer that'll give you an idea of what we're talking about. It's highly disruptive. Part of the reason I bought a place in Montana and I have guns is that's where I'll probably be hiding out after this movie comes out. No, I'm just kidding. They can get you anywhere, but this is going to say a lot of the things. It's going to tell the truth about food, our food system, and most importantly, we're not pointing fingers at anybody. I mean, we do talk about Monsanto and all that other shit. We're not pointing fingers. What we're asking pharma to do is to become big pharma, F-A-R-M-A. I'm asking and imploring them to, because it can't be just about money and patents anymore, even though that probably will never change, because there's so much money in keeping you guys on the pharmaceutical rat wheel. There's so much money, and by the way, it never heals you. It just makes you feel good temporarily. It's Band-Aids. So if you like Band-Aids, keep supporting them. Otherwise, get a Soxbox. We're going to get to the point here that we can actually, we put in about 500 systems residentially, but I'm so busy I just can't build all these different divisions in the company fast enough. But now that Mr. West is coming in and we're getting some serious capital, I'm going to be able to hire people to help us expand the installation of these Soxboxes, at least locally in Southern California. And I did buy 80 acres in Montana for a reason. I've been going up and back and forth for 45 years. It's got the finest water in the world. It comes out of Glacier National Park. I'm 10 miles from Glacier National Park. And I have 80 acres of northwest Montana farmland with 30 acres of virgin forest. I'm the luckiest guy you have ever met to be able to buy this property, because year and a half ago, I had no debt. I was like, God, I could retire. I could get a $100,000 rig and just travel and be all selfish and go do what I want to do. So I did just the opposite. I borrowed $3.5 million, and I went up there and put myself in heavy debt. But I bought the best land in the world. Of course, it went up $1 million last year, so I'm not hurting. Bottom line is, we're not selling any of this land. We are not developing this land. We're going to show people how to not only do this on the cement, but how to do this on Montana land. I mean, this is big farming. I was successful in, first time ever. I don't grow wheat, but I put in winter wheat last October, and we buried it in snow for 4 months. Guess what? No spraying, regenerative organic. I harvested 50,000 pounds of red winter wheat in northwest Montana this year.
Nice.
And I couldn't even find a combine. I go, where do I get a combine? And it's all ready to go. I'm looking out at 50 acres of beautiful wheat. I said, okay, now what do I got to do? Google it. Shit, I need a big combine. It's got to be this kind. Okay, guess what? I found one down the street, a mile and a half away. Found an old family that had a huge combine. I was like, can you guys combine my field? They go, sure. Next day they're up there.
Was that wheat in the ground or?
No, it's in the ground. Yeah, so this is big farming. So I want to explain to you that, you know, I try to install in everybody here some optimism. Stick to it. You can do it. And nothing's impossible. I proved it. Okay, so we harvested in one afternoon 50,000 pounds of regenerative organic winter wheat. And I immediately sold it to the collective, and they said, wow, you haven't seen wheat this color before. I said, well, it's probably the only regenerative wheat you're going to get in all of Montana. And they said, why'd you do that? Why'd you just spray it? And I said, well, our yields were down a little bit because I didn't fertilize or anything. I dry farmed it. But I said, this is the best wheat in the world. So I kept a couple 100-pound bags to make my own bread out of it. So now we're making sourdough bread with regenerative red wheat. You can't believe what this bread's like. And not only that, the bread is 100% fermented. It's 36-hour ferment, so we're doing the old style bread, which means it's gluten-free. I've had celiacs eat my bread and freak. They said, oh my God, I can eat bread. And they said the sore that was in my mouth just got coated with something. I said, yeah, it's healing me. So it shows you that real bread, fermented products, can heal you. Of course, we're eating all the white bread and all the shit down here that's got none of that property. So my point is, we're building a regenerative health center up there. This is one of our points of business here, is to support food banks. I'm going to have a huge ability for 40 people to stay up there. We're building beautiful tiny homes. You can come up and you're going to do workshops with us if you want. I'm a professional chef as well. We're building a beautiful, it's called the Alegria World Kitchen. We're building an urban farming ag institute where you can actually come up. You can go fishing one morning. You can have a workshop with us in the afternoon about soil, or women can come in and say, hey, I'm a celiac. How do I heal my gut? We'll show you. And there you'll look out over the fields and you'll see the food you're eating. It's actually going to be right in front of you. I'm putting in apple orchards, I'm putting in blueberries. I'm doing all the craziest stuff you ever saw. And I never was a prepper, which is funny, but I'm prepping like crazy. Everybody comes up to Montana and goes, you know, I got to have my guns, and you know, we got to make America great. You got to do all that shit. I go, America's already great. It's always been great. Our attitude changed. And our leaders are a little bit off base on both sides. I said, so why don't we just get back to basics, you know? How do we thrive as human beings? Air, water, soil, community, opportunity, and what's the big one? Light. What's the one missing? Love. But light and love are the same. And that's what we're building up there. We're building a place where people can actually feel good again. So next year, you guys, it's called the Alegria. It's Alegria Montana is what we're calling it. You'll see a lot of advertising coming out on it pretty darn soon, in probably the next couple months. But in the meantime, I'll give you my phone number right now, my personal cell. Don't abuse it. I won't answer you unless you text me. And it's got to say, I was at your tour, and you have got to have a good question, because I don't have the time. I'm serious. But here, let me give you if you got a phone on you, so that you get continuing information. That's part of what you get for your whopping $15. 949-230-2486. And I do that because I really appreciate you guys making the time to listen. So,
I'm sorry, 230.
Yeah, is there any questions right now about what I've gone over? Go ahead.
In Montana, to be organic, you have to do a lot of soil prep before you planted all this wheat, for example?
Well, so I bought a 1.5 acre property last August, a year ago August, and it had 8,000 feet of shops, 480 three-phase power. It was like a unique place. Spent a fortune on it, and I was looking to go up to Montana and raise blueberries because I do believe in the power of blueberries, and so we're raising a special crop called Pascals, which come out of Romania and Eastern Europe, and it's the biggest black blueberry, and it's the most powerful antioxidant blueberry we know. So I went up there to do that. I bought this property because we ran into the mailbox next door and bent the shit out of the mailbox with one of my buddies in his truck. Next morning I came in and the lady says, you know, you bent my mailbox, are you going to fix it? I said, of course we are. And she starts laughing. She goes, don't worry about it. She goes, we're selling the place. So I went up there to farm blueberries on 2 acres and spent a couple $1,000. And I said, you're selling it? And at the time my girlfriend, who was an MBA, and she was in Montana, born and raised, and I understood construction, I said, Lindsay, walk with me. Let's go see this place. And so literally that day, my wife came. I said, would you take the deposit on this property? We walked it and we said, how much is this property worth if we recreated it? Because there was no cost. And I got up to 2.3 million and Lindsay got up to 2.1 million because she's always conservative. She likes to argue. She counts beans, I make beans. And she goes, how can you make beans out of that? Well, if I don't, you can't count them. So someone has to sell it, and then you can count them. Otherwise, you don't have a job. And so she says, well, yeah, about 2.1. I said, okay. And I said, so what do you want for the property? They said 1.3. I said, can I give you a deposit today? Where's your husband? Oh, he's on way to, the Sotheby's to list the property. I go, no, call him. So I put the property under contract for $2,222.22 on a credit card. I had no idea that I was borrowing $1.3 million and didn't have $1.3 million in cash. Thank God I'm worth a little more than that, but bottom line was I didn't have the cash. But I put it on a 30-day escrow. And Lindsay looked at me, she goes, you just shook a Montanan's hand and said, in 30 days you're buying the property for $1 million, $1.3 million. Where are you getting it? I said, I'll find it. Well, we did it. Took it actually 37 days because I asked them to stretch it to my birthday on the 9th of August. And they did. So we had a big party there. We took the property down. So now I'm sitting on all this processing buildings, a beautiful, huge 4-bedroom house, 50 chickens, 3 ducks, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, wow. Now I just bought into Montana. Well, there's 77 acres next door that I said I'm going to lease because now I need farm land to grow things on to be able to process in these big buildings, right? So I met the neighbors and they said, great, we love you. I was going to lease that land for $10,000 a year, which is nothing. 2 weeks later, I come back down here. I'm like, okay, I got to start loading up my big transit. I got to start hauling stuff to Montana. I mean, my life changed on a dime. And I mean, I have a beautiful house in Laguna Beach, but now all of a sudden I got a huge house in Montana. And a ton of stuff to take care of, including a bunch of animals that I inherited. Cows, turkeys, you name it. And I thought, okay, you're in. I mean, all in. Well, the neighbors next door, I'm down here a week, and they call and they said, Erik, George just had a heart attack. I go, what? That's the neighbors that own the 77 acres. And I said, uh-oh. And he says, yeah, well, he can't go up and down stairs anymore. And they had a 3-bedroom, beautiful farmhouse, and they said, well, we have to sell it. I go, oh shit. I go, what do you want? They said, we want $1.9 million. I go, okay, here we go again. Got my transit that next day, drove up there and gave him a $10,000 deposit and said, 75-day escrow. Okay. All right. I gotta find another $1.9 million. I did. So now I own 80 acres, 4 homes, 10 bedrooms, 6 baths, and we're up to about 150 chickens, ducks. We just brought in 20 sheep. We're actually using sheep as weed eaters. Yeah. And they have these great little poops, they're like rabbits. So they eat all the weeds, they poop, they fertilize the soil. So going back to the long-winded answer of soil health, yes, I bought land that had been sprayed. And I almost didn't buy it because it had, but it hadn't been sprayed bad. I did all the testing and put $10,000 in testing. After I put it in, they gave them a $10,000 non-refundable deposit. Of course, Lindsay looked at me again and she goes, what? I go, just watch. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Now I got the processing and I got, 80 I said, if I don't buy that 80 acres, that's going to be condos next month. And by the way, I was correct. So here's another thing you'll learn about me. I put it under contract for 10 grand, and I knew I bought it well. It was 25,000 an acre. If I'd have bought it 2 years before, it'd have been 15,000 an acre. And I've known this property because I've been up and back 45 years up there. I've been watching this place explode. It's the next Aspen, Colorado, by the way. I'm just south of Whitefish. So if you were to Whitefish, Montana, it's where all the militias hang out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Kalispell, which is where all the militias hang out as well. And I mean, it's the greatest people in the world. I mean, they're very political, but we never talk about politics. They see my California plate, they hate me, but now they love me. Because they found out one thing. They said, you're buying all that property, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to develop it? You asshole from California. I said, fuck off. I have some magic to make. And by the way, we made a sticker. I got some magic to do. Fuck off, I got some magic to do. And she goes, hey, what do you mean by that? I said, well, we're not developing it. We're going to actually use this to grow food, and we're going to have a processing plant. We're going to show you how to use a single acre, and instead of making $500 an acre on wheat, you should have to make $5,000 an acre for doing apples, blueberries, etc. And then I called up John Tester, the Democratic senator from Montana, told him what I was doing, and he's all in. He doesn't mind Californians if we're going to do it that way. So then I get a developer that walks in and says, hey, I'll tell you what, sell me your contract on that 80 acres, I'll give you $5 million. Wow, did I have a hard time sleeping. I said, $2 million takes the property down, $3 million for your pocket. I had a lot of sleepless nights. I said, you know, $3 million in a week on a $10,000 investment, not a bad idea. I guess a lot of people would think I'm pretty smart. And then I woke up one morning, are you kidding? I can't do that. First of all, they'd kill me here. I'd have to sell the other place too. They'd run me out of town. My point is that the pressure on farmland like this to develop is just like it is down here. And I could have done that and walked away with $3 million. But it would have been such the wrong thing to do. And now I'm going to make $1 billion company based on this. And so I'm going to show them. Land is worth more returning it to its natural state and growing food and showing people how to thrive than it is putting fucking condos on it. Okay? And so that's the level of commitment you have to have nowadays. And if you don't have that level, then you'll be in the audience. You won't be on the field right in front of the bull getting ready to be gored. When you get down there, I'm telling you, life really happens when you got a bull looking at you and it can stick you. Okay? So I've been rewarded. The long story short is I do have this incredible property. We are amending it, and I'm using all the techniques that Joel Salatin and all the best regenerative farmers that are farming big land on the planet are doing, and it's working. So we brought in 20 sheep. By the way, we're birthing sheep right now. You talk about the cutest things on the planet. Baby Navajo sheep. Oh my God. You'll fall in love again 10 times when one of these babies drops out, and then mother starts licking them clean because, you know, they got about an hour before all the afterbirth dries on them. And so the mother starts just going. She first does the head and then does the whole body, and pretty soon you got this perfect fluffy little lamb. And 1 hour later, that lamb's standing up on wobbly legs, just going, I'm here, I'm ready. I mean, it's unbelievable. So when you start, you know, I want you guys to all come up and feel that, because if you feel that, you'll see why this is so important, because it takes you back to a place where you're going to be connected with nature again. Down here, we completely cut off natural everything. You know, we're on cement and we're in traffic, and everybody's like this. You know, kids I hire nowadays, I'm sick because I built high performance racing engines when I was 17. Now, kid can't even figure out how to reverse a drill at 25, and they're living with mom. I'm like, what? So I'm going to be a hero to a lot of parents if I can get these kids, you know, to learn how to reverse drills and build something. But anyway, you all know that story. You probably all had kids that you can't get out of the house. They can't afford to buy a house. And so part of our business is to be building tiny homes up there and actually developing that business for shelter. So what Kanye and I are both working on, and by the way, his real name now is Ye, if you want to be cool with him. You don't call him Kanye. He goes, what? You know, an answer to it. So you call him Ye. And I'm on speed dial with him, which is interesting. He thinks I'm his great white old father. So he's just hired me to be his food team guy for the Donda University out in LA. So I'm going to develop the entire food systems with his backing out there. And like I said, as crazy as he is, he definitely wants to feed people. He wants three things: be the richest man in the world, feed everybody he can, and number three, provide shelter. And I'm convinced about the last two. I think he might be the richest man in the world if he stops saying crazy stuff, but that's him. So I have a nutty partner. We'll see how it goes, but I think I can control it. But the point is, this thing's now getting scaled, and I've needed a partner like this for a long time because I can't do it on the Bank of Erik cutter anymore. The Bank of Erik cutter is tapped. So, all right, that's the story of how Montana got started. That's the story about why we bought it. We're going to show people how to amend big traditional conventional soils. And we've already had some super success in the last 4 months. We started putting in some natural, excuse me, natural wood products. A lot of the minerals I've sourced from northwest Montana and Utah. Started doing that. We've actually found a source of fish down at Flathead Lake, which they're actually taking all these Mackinaw salmon out of there because they're invasive. They're piling them up, so I have a beautiful source of fresh fish. I mean, fresh salmon. Give me a break. So what do you do with fresh salmon if you got too much of it? You throw it in soil. Oh my God, nitromethane. So the bottom line is we're finding all these waste streams and we're showing people how to develop and amend and heal soil. And then right now I'm a small scale. I mean, there's 10,000 acre farms up right around me. I mean, the guy that owns Starbucks owns 1,000 acres above me. That's the most beautiful farm you ever saw. So we're in this really great area where a lot's going on and there's a lot of big money moving in, it's a perfect place to showcase how to heal soil. So I'm doing it in the Sox box. That soil is perfect because we can blend it. We can actually, it comes from Kellogg. It's their best blend. It's their blue ribbon soil that I amend with about 5 different things. And they can't afford to do that because they have to sell it to Home Depot in a bag, 2 cubic feet for $3, $4, $5. I mean, I think they sell it to Home Depot for $2 or $3. So you can't afford to put a lot of really powerful stuff in that soil. That's why it only lasts about 30 days, even though it's great organic soil. So I come back in and, I mean, a bag of soil like that costs me $20. So just like expensive food that's grown well, which you should focus on and stop saying food's getting too expensive because it's not. We're the cheapest food in the world in the United States. Europe is 30% more than we are. Okay, and by the way, 8,000 chemicals we've dumped into our food system and the USDA has not said a word. 95% of those chemicals are banned in Europe. See something going on there? Horrible. So all we're doing is eating chemicals. So if we don't do this now, we will be a country of sick people, and it is our greatest national security threat because we'll have nothing but autistic babies. So all we're going to be doing is taking care of sick people. There will be no more innovation because you will have no time to innovate. You'll be taking care of sick kids. Okay, and that's just one thing. Autism is not even the worst. Obesity, diabetes, you're starting to see it at 12 years old. Man, that's a sin. Okay. How about eating some food? You want to taste some food?